sticking with this game, how good does Trey Lance have to be for the Niners to win in Chicago?
He just has to be just average and turn the ball over. He doesn't have to be anything special because personally, like, I think I really see this riding more on Kyle Shanahan game than the Trey Lance game. I mean, if Lance is turning over the ball, fumble, and a pick or two, then it's like, okay, Lance, what are we doing here? But I ultimately want to see, like, Kyle, don't get too cute this game. Don't put so much on his shoulders. That's essentially how I see it. If we're asking how good does he have to be, it's just execute the offense.
Yeah.
You're playing against a weak team. This is something that should be like a good precursor, a warm up for Lance. I know he got like 16 throws in the preseason, but ultimately he still needs work. This is something where you got to treat it. You don't want to like just throw it all on him until the first game. We just mentioned there's rain involved, so that might play a factor. Just run the football like you know how to do. Control the clock, give him the easy throws with play boo actions, drop him back straight up for a few like deep throws if the rain permits, and then just let him have like an easy game. Don't do too much. Don't run him to the ground on week one because this is not a team that demands so much out of a good quarterback performance. Just a decent one. And take care of the football, and I think they should win.
Yeah, he doesn't have to run 10 times for the Niners to beat the Bears.
He better not. If that's then we're looking at the offensive line.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Like, he doesn't have to run 10 times for the Niners to win this game. He doesn't have to throw 30 times for the Niners to win this game. I mean, really, the Niners should be thinking, we can win this game with Trey Lance throwing 18 passes, 20 passes, 21. And so what his job is don't throw a bunch of picks. Don't fumble. Don't make big mistakes. He might make one big mistake. It's his first start of the year. Okay, so will Justin Fields, but you can't make a lot because really they're not asking you to do very much. Hand off most of the time, make a few throws. And the throws that they're going to ask him to make, I'm not in the room, but I'm thinking they're going to be safer throws.
Yeah.
Down the field, to the sideline, screens, not the 15-yard throw over the middle that Jimmy Garoppolo would do over and over that would get picked twice a game. I wouldn't expect that. So it's like they're going to put you in safe positions, ask you not to do very much, and say, don't lose the game. I think that's his job. Don't lose the game because I don't think he needs to be the reason they win it.
How concerned? I mean, I don't know because, early, I know I was there for the first Deebo appearances and then preseason. How concerned are you with the Trey and Deebo connection? Because I've been writing that a bit. Like, I know maybe it's probably more updated in the last 2 weeks, but that's the thing I'm concerned about, especially seeing week one, if they're going to really try to connect on something like 10 plus yards throw, because it's easy to get the Jimmy Gimmies, we call it. The Lances are going to get those throws. But what about like when it really determines on the quarterback to make his throws? Like, I'm not worried about with Ayuk or Kittle. It's the Deebo connection I'm really worried about.
Good question. And the way it looked in preseason, I wouldn't expect it to be magically great overnight. It's going to take time. Mm-hmm. I think it'll get there, but week one, the problem they have right now is Trey and Deebo haven't really established what they do well together. Jimmy and Deebo established that. So for Trey, it's like, okay, well, we can hand off to Deebo. We can throw screens to Deebo. What else? Not really going to be throwing a lot of slants and digs with Trey right away. Those are dangerous passes over the middle. No reason to do that. So, okay, what else do you do? The deep over route on play action. That's okay. So deep shots, essentially. That's what we're seeing. A lot of deep shots.
Straight deep shots.
And it's like, I
don't think that's Deebo's route.
Exactly. He's a yards after the catch guy. So the intermediate and short game is kind of not there right now. It's like the running back stuff, the screen behind the line of scrimmage stuff, and the deep stuff, and they're trying to figure out the rest. I wouldn't expect that to be there week one. And again, I don't think it needs to be. Like, they can win this game throwing 11 passes. They can win this game throwing 9 passes. I think they could probably win this game throwing 9 passes. That should be the goal. Just that, like, embarrass teams that way. We didn't even throw this week. We didn't have to. Maybe we'll throw when we have to. That's the mission statement for this team. Throw only when you freaking have to. And that's not even necessarily 3rd and 5. You can run on 3rd and 5, get to 4th and 1, run again. I'm saying.
I just want to see something where, and that's the way I circle back to Kyle Shanahan. I put this more on Shanahan for how good does he have to be versus Lance, is because last year, they were steamrolling the Lions, and then suddenly, I know it was a lot of defensive collapses, but there was a way of handling of the game that you could have done better in terms of, sustaining possession, and especially with the injuries, ensuring you don't have your stars out there and such. So I just want to, hopefully he just knows that, hey, let's not get off to that crucially slow start. And hopefully I don't ruin the game at the end. I don't choke it in the end to make him a close game.
The way I look at this Niners team is everyone focuses on their offense because it's Kyle Shanahan, but they're a defense team. The star of the team is defense. They put most of their resources into it. D'Amico's really good. They're going to win this game with their defense. So the job most weeks for the offense is don't screw it up. Don't lose. Don't commit a bunch of turnovers, run the ball, like control the clock. I think they can probably do that in this game. I think the Niners, I think the offense, Trey, all of them cannot lose this game. That's the job.
Even if Trey has a couple picks, I think that defense is good enough to like all right, we're gonna go suffocate Justin Fields all over again, David Montgomery, because I'm not sure who they have that's gonna threaten anyone on that defense. And I think the offensive line, I mean, I don't even know who the hell's offensive line. I think it's a bunch of young cats or something like that. So
2 picks might not be great though. And again, the picks might be like,
and it depends where it's at too.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. Also, if the pick is like, well, it was tipped off a player's hand. Okay, well, that happens, bad luck. But
I don't put that on the quarterback.
If Kyle asked Trey to throw a bunch of passes over the middle and a couple sail and get picked, then I'm going to be like, well, what the hell, Kyle?
That's exactly what I'm talking about right there.
What are you talking about? Yeah, so it depends on how they –
If the running game's your baby, why aren't you running the ball? I think at that point it'd be like trying to prove like, look, I got this young quarterback. He's got like 0 negative starts, so let me go play and run him out and show you I can trot out with him in the rain.
Yeah, see, I'm more concerned of Kyle Shanahan doing something like that than Trey Lance losing the game. Like, there are a lot of ways to win this game with Trey Lance. There are probably a lot of ways to lose it too. Kyle, don't find those ways. Don't just Xerox the game plan last year from Jimmy Garoppolo against Chicago and be like, okay, we won that game. You do it, Trey. Like, no, you got to win in a different way. It's called running the ball. I think, to his credit, he's one of the few offensive geniuses in the league that isn't insecure about passing a lot. He's not like, oh, I have to have the best passing game in the league. I think he's quite content to have the best running game in the league, which is cool.
Well, he's old school. He loves running it.
Old school. I like that too. Anyway, David Sanchez says, can you do the Jimmy G patent the ball?
One day we got to get you with your footwork, because if you're over here critiquing all these quarterbacks, let's critique your footwork with that, all right? Let's get a full body video of you actually doing the full form. Then we'll critique you. That
would be fire. Todd Fry says, can Niners realistically sit Trey Lance midseason and start him in the future? That's a tough one. If you bench him and it's not because he's hurt, we're just like, hey, you're not good enough. That's tough, man. I don't know how you come back from that.
It's hard to go back, dude. That's why it's literally like it was last year. It's like as soon as the one thing what was said, and I remember Leo said it, who's not here with us, was the one thing about if you start Jimmy for the season is you can bench him anytime and then it's cool. Because then you have that's your trump card, your ace card. You'd be like, we can go with Lance anytime, but you ain't going back. You ain't going back. So the same thing this year. Once you do, and it's even worse because you spent 3 first-round picks on him, and that looks terrible.
Giovanni Miller says, if you have to start your franchise, who is your quarterback? Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick, Jimmy Garoppolo. Plus, I have COVID. What do you recommend to do? Video games. Stay aside.
Games. That's what I did when I had it.
Sleep a lot.
Sleep a lot, honestly. Cap. It's between Cap or Smith to me.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Alex Smith, but that's a tough one. I don't know.
I know. I think it's like if you're starting a franchise, there's a lot of variables in the sense. I would go with Cap just because I'd rather take at that point. I'm hoping that we can actually sustain his success better than how the Niners did towards his last few years of his career. That's mine. But I mean, ultimately, if we're talking about careers now, yeah, Alex Smith. But I'd rather just shoot for the stars with Cap.
The thing with Cap was his career. I mean, his prime lasted like a year and a half. So what are you really committing to if you have him? Like Alex Smith got better and better and better and was good into his 30s. I don't know. It's a tough one. But Colin Kaepernick, man, he supercharges your run game. He lets you throw downfield. He was really good in the playoffs. Alex Smith was never really good in the playoffs. That's a tough one. I'll take Trey Lance.
He'll take Nick Mullins.
Karan Sharma says Kyle's offense is terrible in the rain. Indy, Baltimore.
I blame that more on the quarterback. To be honest.
Yeah, what would it be about his offense that struggles in the rain? Is it all the shifts and motions? It's like
no, honestly, I mean, Baltimore game that was a slobber knocker between 2 elite teams. I'm not hanging out on just a weakness. I think if anything, the Indy game is more indicative because I saw one quarterback chucking it deep getting PIs. Right. The other quarterback didn't even tell him to throw it and get PIs. It's like So that's to me was the quarterback's fault, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see what the Trey Lance offense looks like in the rain. Be interesting. But it is interesting, that Indiana game last year. Do you remember who their defensive coordinator was? I don't mean to put you on the spot. It's Matt Eberflus, who is the head coach.
Oh, right.
Yeah, of the Bears. That was a trick question. So anyway, I don't know if Eberflus is a good head coach, but he's a very good coordinator, and he's faced Kyle before and had success with a different team. But just want to point that out there. Also, this team has Robert Quinn, who had 18 and a half sacks last year, and he might be going against McGlinchey, who's healthy, apparently.